Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Narend Singh, will lead the South African delegation to the 16th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity in Cali in Colombia. Now, the delegation will actively participate in negotiations to promote global biodiversity conservation priorities and enhance sustainable use and advocate for fair and equitable benefit sharing from the utilization of genetic resources as well as digital sequence information on genetic resources. So let's speak about this more now. We speak to the Deputy Director General responsible for Biodiversity and Conservation, Flora Mokgohloa, who joins us live now. Good afternoon, good evening rather to you, and thank you so much for your time. Firstly, let's talk about the significance of South Africa's participation in this particular meeting.
Thank you very much, Bongiwe. Good evening to you. Yes, it's good day to us here just before 12 midday in Cali, Colombia. We are attending the 16th conference of the parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity. And the primary objective of this conference of the parties is the implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which we agreed to in COP15 in Montreal. And the Global Biodiversity Framework itself has got 23 targets. These 23 targets are set to lead us into a future where we reverse or halt the loss of biodiversity by 2030. In 2050, we live in harmony with nature. That's basically the big objective of this conference of the parties.
And of course, as you say, there are targets that have been set. And one wonders when it comes to, for example, the targets that, have been set right now, looking at the time frames, are we anywhere near closer to meeting them?
We acknowledged already in Montreal that we have little time left to achieve this target. It's 2024, which means we only have 6 years to achieve these targets. And under the circumstances where there are no concrete means of implementation, which includes financing, capacity building, and technology transfer, we are very unlikely to achieve those targets. The financial gap that was determined in Montreal was at 700 billion, of which 500 billion of that, this is US dollars, was going to come out of subsidies. And as we know, that is not real money because this is just about reforming harmful subsidies. We settled for a 200 billion financing gap that need to be met by 2030. However, we are sitting in a situation where, as we speak, by 2025, we're supposed to have mobilized 20 billion, and we are nowhere near that. We are now sitting in a situation where the compromise financial mechanism of the Global Biodiversity Fund that was set up in Montreal only received just about 230 million US dollars, and that falls really short of the ambition that we set for ourselves in Montreal.
So would one be correct then to say that, yes, you are there, and you did, of course, allude to this in Montreal, and now you're back there having these conversations. Some would say, but this is potentially simply just talk shop if what is needed is actually not being done with the urgency that it is required.
Not really, and Bongiwe. This is not a talk shop. This is a conference that is there to reverse the loss of biodiversity that we see happening across the world, which is due to a number of factors, also including climate change for obvious reasons. And what we are here for is not only to look at the fact that it is about resources, it's also to take stock of how countries have interpreted and domesticated these global targets, and now start to put in place mechanisms to develop what are called national biodiversity strategy and action plans, which will be accompanied by national biodiversity finance plans. And essentially what we are saying, we also need to put in place mechanisms for global review of the framework itself and mechanisms for planning and reporting and monitoring also. So those are some of the other areas. I think the other big issue that is going to come out is about operationalization of the global multilateral mechanism for what is called the digital sequence information. Mm-hmm. And essentially this is about meeting the third objective of the convention, which is about how we start to benefit and have access to the genetic resources from our biological diversity also. So for instance, there are companies that are able to extract the DNA sequence of our plant and resources and then commercialize them or develop them for health and medicinal uses. And we are saying that those countries that are providing plant resources that have this unique digital sequence will need to start to benefit from the sales of the commercialization for products for health and hygiene or personal use also. Yeah. And that mechanism is going to be operationalized at this convention also. So that part of the convention at least will get funding allocation to it.
All right. It sounds like a conversation that we may need to have when you come back as we talk about, you know, the very important issues of digital sequencing there and, of course, around biodiversity as well. But we'll leave it there for now and certainly hoping to catch up when Team South Africa is back. That's Deputy Director General responsible for biodiversity and conservation, Flora Mokgohloa.